racing immediately. But a champion becomes a legend. McKinney Diva wins it again.
Yes, yes, yes! Wins the Everest. Glen Boss wins another big one.
Who's the Boss season 4? Another great guest on the way. We're going to talk horse racing today with our guest, but Adam Peacock alongside Glen Boss off the top. And Bossy, great to see you again,
You
mate.
too.
As always, as we like to do, check in with your mates. Everyone out there, Bossy, how was your week?
Mate, had a great week. Got another game of golf in. The weather's just finally turned on the Gold Coast. And you'll love it. You're going out there for the Mick Fanning Golf Day on
Yes.
Friday, which is a great day. Unfortunately, I can't go. But you had a terrific week, mate. What about yourself?
It was good. It was good. I have enjoyed, as a New South Welshman, wearing my blue on blue today, the fact that Queensland, they're eating itself, basically, with...
Imploding, you call it?
Drop your captain for Origin, DCE. That's not
Yeah.
loyal. That's not Queenslander.
Well, he probably wasn't one of his best matches, but he wasn't allowed to play. The forwards didn't turn up. I reckon they went to bed that night and probably didn't have one bruise on them, our forwards, from last game. So, yeah, you know, if the forwards are marching on and doing their job, it allows him to do his job. And he wasn't. But anyway, at the end of the day, we were nowhere near good enough. I'll take my hat off to the Blues and I don't think on that performance, I don't see us winning a game this series, to be very honest. And that's from a real diehard Queensland. I just can't see us turning it around because you've just got too many bullets to fire.
So this is Queensland to a T. So it's lower expectations, lower them, get to the bottom of the Dead Sea, like below the lowest point on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And then those expectations down there, and they'll come out and have a Origin performance. I can smell it over in Perth.
Yeah, we're the
Smell it.
underdogs, mate. We are the big underdogs this time. Probably should be 10-1 in a 2-horse race. Yeah, it's sad, but you never know. We got a bit of ticker, but anyway.
Are you putting in a 2-horse race? There's a third option as well. If you do want to invest, it's backing the draw. Are you saying that the draw's a shorter price than Queensland winning this game?
Oh, there won't even be there won't be a draw.
There won't be a draw.
No,
I was just checking with that three-way thing.
There'll be one winner.
Hey, before we move on, and our guest is just around the corner because he's a guy who knows about winning these things, and looking forward to chatting to him.
Yeah, me too.
The great game of racing can, even when you expect something, it hits you between the eyes and it takes away those expectations. So I had a mate through the week who had a horse that had its odds halved on race day, started favourite at Randwick midweek, jumps, gets to outside the leader, travelling, absolutely travelling in the straight, found nothing. Expectations gone. What would you say as a man who knows the racing game so well to said owner, to pick himself up or just get on with life?
Get on with life. You've got to manage expectations. It's sport at the end of the day, and our sport, unlike any other sport, has so many variables that come into play. You know, you're dealing with a live animal, track conditions, barrier draws, how the jockey rode it, how it was managed through the week, if it's got a temperature, if it gets its tongue over the bit, which is we spoke about. There's so many variables that come into play to get a result. So when your horse gets beaten, it's just sport at the end of the day.
Just cop it
on the chin. It's no big deal. You know, if they drop their bottom lip and cry and whinge, I generally just chuckle to myself and have a laugh. So it's, you know, come on, mate, just get on with it. It's not a big deal.
The tongue did get over the bit.
Yeah, well, what happens, and they never win with their tongue over the bit, I'll put it that way.
Okay.
Because what happens when they get their tongue over the bit, for layman's terms, it cuts their wind off. So they'll travel real good, and as soon as you let them go, they're empty because they're actually lactic acid is burning up in their body because they're one big muscle.
Yeah.
And when you let them go, they expired because they've got no more energy left.
So it'd be like you trying to run that half marathon by holding your breath.
Just if you were to go and run 200 metres and hold your breath, you're going to burn up you're going to die. Because you're not die physically, but you're going to die on your run, put it that way. So
exactly.
Horses are the same, they invariably travel really well because for a jockey, there's no feeling there because the tongue's over the bit.
Right.
So they're strong. So you think, this is travelling, but you just know.
Yeah.
And when you let go, like I said, they've just got no energy. So It's a genuine excuse.
There was a few commentators and media people that I know probably need a tongue tie as well in their lives. But anyway, we won't dive into that. Air Touch, we've got to mention our friends at Air Touch as well. Bossy, this is the time of the year to set your temperature in your house before you get home, so you are not walking in to the bottle-o fridge, basically. When you get home, you want things warmed up, and Air Touch does exactly that, yeah?
Yep, especially if you're living in Sydney at the moment. It is freezing down here. Icy cold. So if you haven't got an Air Touch, you're rowing against the tide. You need an Air Touch in your property, in your house, because it's easy, it's convenient, saves power, and it works. It works every time. So and it works in summer, works in winter. So go and get an Air Touch. I've got one. It's brilliant.
Life advice all over the place today from Glen Boss. Airtouch.net.au. That's the place to go to check it out and get involved to set the temperature in your house to how you want to feel comfortable. And last one before we get to our special guest,
Bossy.
Bossy.
Feeling very spiritual or something today, like handing out, if you want, call me, if you want advice.
Yeah.
I've got all life skills.
Guru Swami over there. Fantastic. We've just got to give a shout out as well. People that we met very recently up at Arrowfield Stud, they'll be feeling it this week.
Oh, yeah.
Snitzel, part of the family up there, the great sire, passed away at the age of 22. He was getting a bit older, the old bloke, but he was still doing a great job and producing He's produced winners for fun this week even. Group 1, he's got Lady Shenandoah, who is on the verge of being a champion. But sad news for John Massara and the team there at Arrowfield. So shout out to them. Yeah,
that would have hit him brutally hard. I sent John a really nice message day before yesterday. You know, just reiterating how great that horse has been. He's been an amazing servant to the industry ever since he started racing. He was a great horse. And I said, but his legacy will live on throughout Australian racing forever, because he's got a big footprint in our breeding industry. He's got some great sons out there and daughters, and the name will keep living on. But that would have really hurt them. Yeah. I mean, you don't expect them, they're not going to live forever. You understand that? But when they do pass, it still hurts. It hurts because he's been a massive part of the operation up there at Arrowfield. And John sent back a lovely message just saying thanks very much.
Yeah, and when things like this happen, it's essentially a death in the family. Like, okay, it's like, it's a horse. It's doing a job there on the farm and everything. No, it's part of you. It's part of everything that you've become, especially for not only John, but all his staff and the people that look up hands-on with the horse as well. I really feel for them.
Oh, there's no doubt. He's a big part of their furniture up there. It's like, when you lose your dog, and it's part of your life. They're like a child, right? And these animals are exactly the same. They're cared for. They're loved every day. Their handlers affectionately love them. And you're 100% right. When they pass, it's like a death in the family.
So once again, condolences to everyone there at Arrowfield who opened the doors to us here on Who's the Boss early in season 4. And check out that chat with John Massara. He gave great detail to what he's been able to build up there, an empire in the Hunter Valley of New South Wales. Okay, time for our special guest right now. We won't even intro him. We'll just get straight to it. Our special guest is 3-time Melbourne Cup winner, 3-time Everests winner. He's won a stack of races, Group 1s here in Australia and around the world. Kerrin McEvoy, gun jockey, joins us. Kerrin, great to have you here on Who's the Boss.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Thanks, Bossy.
Hello, Macca.
Thanks for having me in. How are you all?
My good mate. How are you, my buddy?
Yeah, very good, thanks. Good to be here.
You're one guy. Now, the reason you don't have your cups to match Bossy and just say whatever you got, I can do the same thing as well, is that you're actually riding today and you don't really want to take your 3 Melbourne Cups up to Gosford and leave them in the car, which is fair enough.
Mine aren't as shiny as that either, so I need to fix mine up a bit. They look beautiful, those 3 cups, but we're fortunate enough, us two here, to have been able to grab a few of them and cherish the moments. That's
There's
for sure.
a few majors between us. Yeah. It's pretty cool, eh, Macca?
There's been a few. How many do you have in total? Big ones?
Majors?
Yeah.
So 3 Melbourne Cups, 4 Cox plates. Two. No, I didn't.
Group 1s though. Sorry. I mean,
Group 96.
Yeah.
96.
Wow.
Yeah. What are you sitting on now?
I'm 85.
Oh, you'll surpass me. You're still young. Still young, mate. Got miles in front
when
of
you get to 97, can you give a Glen Boss type celebration when you go across the line?
Yeah.
Can you do that for us?
If I get to 90, I'll do that.
Yeah, 100%.
No, they've dried up a little bit of late, but we're still gunning for them.
But can you add? You've won the 3 Everests, right? They weren't Group 1s, but then it's classified as a Group 1 race. Can you upgrade your tally to say?
Don't reckon.
No, I don't know about. I've been thinking about that. You probably
So
can't.
it is a Group 1 now,
It's a
is it?
Group
Yeah,
1
okay.
race as of last year. So history will say you won 3 Everests, but I don't know. Can you say, oh
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't
well,
know.
it's a tricky one, right?
Yeah, it is. It is a tricky one.
So when
I
you-
mean, it should be a Group 1, shouldn't it? The fields have been fantastic from the get go, but I might be able to just whack them on my tally regardless anyway.
Yeah, just do it.
How did you feel though winning the inaugural one though? That's
Yeah, that was
we've
that
both
was-
ridden in it and won it.
It's special, obviously a special race, and just the enormous prize money tag.
But the
It
build up.
The build up was astronomical. Like I remember being really, really nervous in the build up.
Yeah.
I had to really take some deep breaths. It was. I think the fact Redzel got beat in the lead up sort of just took the pressure off a bit.
Yeah.
But I remember when the rain come
Yeah.
during the day, and I was getting more and more nervous coming up to it. I was like, this horse can win this.
He loves a wet.
Yeah.
It's like one of our. It's like a major event. Like it's like a Cox Plate or a Melbourne Cup.
From the very first one.
To really stir up those emotions in you and get nervous.
for
It takes a big event, especially for riders who more senior riders like ourselves. So this is what the Everest has become. It's become one of those races where you actually get really emotional and want to win it.
Yeah.
So you won the first 2 on Redzel. So you went back to back.
Back to back, yeah.
Did you win the next one on Yes, Yes, Yes? Was that the next year? I can't remember trying
was,
to
yeah.
line them all
Yeah,
up.
that's
it was.
right. And
Yeah.
then you come out and beat me. I ran second to you when you won on the Grey Horse.
Classic, yeah. he
Classic.
was,
I mean,
What were
he
you on
was-
that day?
I was on Godolphin's horse.
Bivouac. Bivouac, yeah.
Yeah.
Never been so
Was it
confident.
second or third Bivouac?
No, second.
Second was the
I've never been so confident winning a race. I tracked him and actually I let him in.
That's nice.
I did
kind of
actually.
him. Kind of, yeah.
I did let him. He was going to cut me off. So, and I thought, no, if I dig up, I'm going to take myself out of my comfort zone and I'm going to fight because Bivouac
They
can
were
come off the
flying
mark.
along as well, weren't they?
Bivouac can come off the mark pretty quick. So I thought, if I do that, I'm going to F myself because I'm
Yeah.
going to start firing up and then I stuff him as well
Yeah,
because I'm going to push him 3 wide. So I thought, I'll come back a little bit and let him in. I'll just follow him. And I straightened up. I've talked about this. I straightened up jogging. And Bivouac is unbelievable off the mark. This horse dropped me, put 3 to 4 lengths on me, and I went, holy shit. It took the wind completely out of my sails. I went, oh my God, that was spectacular.
But you did the same to him because you were going for 3 in a row on Redzel, weren't you?
Yes.
Yeah. And then this guy down the outside, and I remember Yes, Yes, Yes that day, it finished like it'd been fired out of a cannon.
Yeah.
So what's that like when you think you're on something in a massive race and you look outside and you went, oh no.
Well, Les's
Yeah.
horse would have give you that feeling that day.
Oh, yeah.
It was,
You know,
he's phenomenal.
To win a big race, no matter what distance it is, but especially a Group 1 sprint, when you're on those top level horses, they give you an unbelievable feeling. You know, Redzel was from the front. The classic legend feeling was like no other because he sat back in the field. They went so quick, and as Bossy said, he just dropped. He dropped and went past horses that were stopping in front, but he let go and just blew them away. He was a gun horse. It's a shame we didn't get to see more of him. He went to Hong Kong and then got sick and had a few injuries, and we own him. Our family owns him as a pleasure horse now.
Oh, really?
He's, he's living at our property with our kids' ponies and that. So it's brilliant to have him. But he was a freak sprinter. Yeah.
How is he? Is just a pet now?
Yeah, he's getting ridden a bit, and the kids ride him. Does a bit of show jumping. We haven't competed on him yet, but that might be something that I might do when I finish race riding. But
in 20 years.
it's cool to have him. You know, he's a lovely old horse. Yeah,
And he's a good looking horse too, isn't he?
yeah, he's gotten a bit white now. You
Yeah,
know, they
but-
get
yeah, they
really
get
white,
white.
but he's a cool dude, and he's got that bit of aura about him. So it's nice to have him. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
And mate, the Cups. So as a really young man, you come from Streaky Bay, a little town in South Australia. Year 2000, you lob up at Flemington and win the biggest race in the Southern Hemisphere at that time in the Melbourne Cup on Brew. What did that do for your life?
Oh yeah, it's crazy when you look back at it and think about how it all evolved. I'd only been riding, 2.5 years, nearly 3 years. So it was, just over 3 years, but it was just right time in the moment, right time, right moment, and I was riding for Mike Moroney at the time. I'd already ridden Brew, and he won on the Saturday to gain a spot, and he had 49 kilos, so there weren't many jockeys that were free, hadn't got a ride in the race, and could ride the weight. and it come down to myself and Michael Walker, and Mike said, well, McEvoy's been riding for us, let's put him on. So went to the barrier draw, all excited, drew barrier 24, went home, tail between the legs with my now wife Kathy, and got home and just thought, bugger it, you know. I'll just throw caution to the wind, and whatever will be now. And
it kind of loosens you up in a way.
It did, yeah.
You know, because if you drew, like, say, lower than 8, you know, the expectations is obviously quite high. You think the horse can win. But when you're out there, it's going to, let's just go and ad-lib a bit. And that's when your real skill comes out, because you have that ability to ad-lib. You give him a great ride, though.
I had plenty of luck, but he was the sort of horse you needed to settle. And first port of call was, okay, we're going to get some cover. But I went out there just thinking, right, I'm going to roll the dice. He began fine, rolled sort of, semi-positive. Took me a couple of furlongs to get a spot, but I remember as we got past the furlong before the winning post the first time, I had Beedman inside me on Yippee-I-O, and Gouch was back on the inside on a horse of Robert Smurden's. I forget its name now. Anyway, it was a horse that wouldn't travel well, this horse that Gouch was on, and I knew that if I just give him a bit of pressure, I'd be able to get Darren to the fence, Darren Beedman. So Beedman tried to keep me out there. He said, I've got one here. And I just had a look and I thought, I've got to just test the waters. Yeah. And Gouchy's horse gave away the position. I was able to get in and get some cover, and the rest was history. The horse was, bred to stay, 49 kilos, and Mike had him primed and ready to go.
Did you hear, Buddy, did you hear about the story about Mike had the dream? God bless him. This is a true story. Obviously, Mike just passed away recently, and, we think about him every day, but he actually dreamt that the horse drew 24. No, this is seriously. He drew 24 and the horse won. That was a dream he had. It was.
I think he even dreamed that it had the black cap, because his normal colours with the red cap. I reckon he dreamed it had the black cap. as well.
I knew there was another part to it, and I'd forgotten that was the other part.
Yeah.
So it's incredible. He had a real vivid dream of his horse winning in the colours.
Yeah.
Well, you gave it a great ride, obviously, and I dare say that Mike put a little bit of champagne that night into you. I don't know how used to champagne you were, and at 49 kilos, it wouldn't have taken too many to get you going.
No, we went to good old Jack Sade Bar in
Bar.
Mooney Valley, near Mooney Pond, and Mike was a great man, and instrumental in my early development as a rider, and I'm forever thankful for the opportunity he gave me to ride that horse.
Because they say about a cup, and I spoke to a major stable representative after last year's Cup when it got nicked by a 100-1 winner, deserved winner. But he said, man, half that field got horrible rides.
Yes.
Because everyone's, not a lot of people ride 2-mile races. You don't do it consistently, and you've got to have a knack of knowing what to do when, more than ever in a race. And I went, I didn't really take that into consideration, but is that a real factor in races like that?
Oh, definitely. It's 2-mile races are different no matter what track you're on, but especially at Flemington and in a Melbourne Cup, it's a handicap, big pressure race. So it's all about obviously ticking the box as you're progressing, ticking each box as you progress through the race. You've got to get everything right. Tempo, positioning, have your horse settled, and breathing is probably the main key, isn't it, Bossy? You've got to be able to get them in a rhythm. If you start them up at all and they don't come back, you do a furlong of extra work, your race is done.
Yeah, it's always got to run perfect for you. But I've watched so many Melbourne Cups over the years, and there's a pattern that happens every cup. There's this first wave where people get a bit itchy from the half mile to the 600, and they start to make their runs, and then there's this huge wave, and then there's the second ones that blend in when everyone's sort of, because they start tiring at the 200 metre mark, and all of a sudden the ones that have blended in for the second wave, they're the ones that are strong for the line. It's everyone gets itchy in this race for some reason. Everyone seems to do something they would not normally do in a race, and it just takes a cool head. Like last year's winning 100-1, he was just out there enjoying himself. You know what I mean? You're thinking, you're Robbie Dolan. You're just thinking, and he just was on the second wave, and he was kind of thinking, and all of a sudden he's got to the 300 metre mark, and I'm going to run a place.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm going to run a place. Next thing he wins, because there was 10. There was 10 ordinary rides in the race, and they run around the placings.
And that corner is it's a long corner as well. It starts turning at the 1400, and it's a long way around. But I mean, my horse ran great last year. I was actually a little bit disappointed. I thought I got out of it a little bit early. I was on a horse, absurd. He races a little bit keen, so I wanted to just get him covered up. And I got squeezed after a furlong, and then I was sort of back probably 2 or 3 lengths further than what I wanted. I was still able to sort of creep, and I was inside Robbie at probably at the 800.
Yeah. Doesn't stay though, does he, Macca?
He probably doesn't. I mean, maybe if I
to
ride
ride.
him a bit closer, he probably doesn't finish it off. But I went to present, and I had to sort of duck and weave, and then Robbie's horse and the few that beat me home were just a little bit stronger.
So you won your first one in Brew in 2000 as a young man. That's a great story. 2018 we'll get to cross counter. You finally broke the Godolphin hex after so many years of trying from the world's biggest racing operation. Basically, you got through that. 2016, the storyline from that wasn't as pronounced. It was you won another Melbourne Cup. You would have feeling good about yourself. But personally, it was my greatest ever moment.
Really,
in a
Why is
Melbourne
that?
Cup. So I've spotted this horse, Almandin, in Germany
Right.
3 months earlier, or when Lloyd Williams purchased the horse. It had been running in Germany throughout its career, and I'd worked out as the expert punter, who's probably not back the Melbourne Cup winner since, that you needed something with a bit of dash.
Yep.
You need at some point in the race, you need a bit of dash. So this is when the profile of the race is changing. So I've gone, I'll back that. I'll have 20 on it at that stage 30-1. And then each day I thought about it, I watched the replay of the race, I'd back it again. Just have $20 to the point where come race day, it's kind of in commission because it had a nice little lead in. And I'm up for my biggest ever win.
Yeah, right.
$6,000-$7,000, which for me is massive.
Yeah.
People might sneer at that and go, I'll do that in a midweeker. So anyway, you've given it the most beautiful ride of all time, and I thank you so much for this. I've been waiting for this for so long. What I did after it, instead of just not telling the wife that I'd won the money and keep it for myself and then reinvest on Oaksdale or something like that, I went, no, I'm going to give something back to the family here.
Right.
So we went and bought floorboards for the house.
Beautiful.
And I've called them the Almandin floorboards. And I've got a chunk here. If you could please sign that for me, and I can put it up on the wall at home.
Why not?
And it'd just cap off the whole story perfectly, Kerrin.
All
So,
right.
mate, thank
Want me to
you.
write to Adam and family, or just to Adam?
Just to Adam. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's your doing.
Yeah. I'll claim
Your
that.
floorboards.
You're punting.
Yeah.
So the Almandin floorboards are part of
To Adam.
a house in, hopefully one day they'll be heritage listed on the northern beaches of Sydney. But Kerrin, thank you for giving it that ride that day because
Pleasure,
it was
mate.
a peach, an absolute peach.
See,
Bossy.
Kerrin, it's the race just keeps giving it. Not only changes our lives, it changes everyone else's
exactly.
lives around us. Hey?
Exactly.
That's probably the
right.
funniest thing you've ever had to sign.
And a bit of wood. Why not? Well, to Adam, well spotted and good punting.
Yeah. That's awesome.
What have you had to sign in your day, Bossy?
Oh, plenty. Yeah.
Never a floorboard though.
No, never a floorboard. What about that? That's awesome.
That's a good
well
story.
done, Macca.
Thank you. That's
Good story, that.
But it does change your life, doesn't it? This race, because after you won your first one on Brew, you got a call up to go overseas and ride for the biggest stable in the world. Number 2 rider behind arguably the greatest rider we've ever had in the world.
Frankie Dettori.
Frankie Dettori. So that was what an
Oh,
experience.
it was
As a
cool.
young man,
Yeah.
you're in your 20s.
Cool. That were cool times in my life, and my wife Kathy. We weren't married then, but she came over for a period as well. It was great. Lived in Dubai for a while in England, and got to experience some great times over there. Riding in some big races. Ran second in the Derby.
Yeah.
Watched the Derby the other night. That was cool.
Yeah.
Won a St Ledger. And won a few big races over there, and just had a great time underneath Frankie. He was such a character, but he really took me under his wing, and look back and with really fond memories of the times. It's a beautiful racing season over there. It's really busy, but they do it well. The English, they do it really well.
Yeah. So the flat goes from April to October.
April to end of October. Yeah.
So what was life like then? So it's pre-kids.
Yeah,
So
pre-kids. So we'd be Dubai January, February, March and then riding 2 days a week, doing track work in the mornings, prepping the horses, because back then Sheikh Mohammed would take all the Godolphin horses back to Dubai and they'd winter there. So you'd have like a semi holiday / working couple of months there. Competed in the World Cup when it was really Dubai World Cup when it was really starting to climb the ladder and get bigger and bigger, and then. After that you'd head off to England. So you'd be in England April through to sort of middle of October, and then most times they'd allow me to come back, so I'd sort of get back for Cox Plate Day or something like that, Caulfield Cup Day. So then I'd spend a couple of months at home and riding the carnival, and then away we go again. So it was a brilliant time in my life.
Endless summer.
Well,
Bossy.
it's just amazing. You
How
would
good.
think, that as a young man, it just must have been happening so fast for you at that time because, like you won a Melbourne Cup as a very young man, and all of a sudden these doors opening up and you're over there, you're doing it. You must have been pinching yourself at some times.
Yeah, I remember I got over there and I remember calling Frankie. It was in my first season there, and I had to get to Hamilton or somewhere up north, obviously Scotland, and it was 2 days away. And I rang Frankie and said, "How am I going to get up there?" And he goes, "Kid, don't worry about it. That's 3 days away. We've got to worry about today and tomorrow first." And he just really put me at ease, He took the pressure off and he said, just take it day at a time. He used to call me. I would be riding at different meetings to him more often than not, but he'd always call me on the way and run me through the track, run me through the horses if he'd ridden them. So it was a great learning curve, not only with him, guys like Johnny Murtagh, Mick Cannan would come over, Kieran Fallon, Richard Hughes, there's some great jockeys that I was able to ride under. It was, just learnt so much, not only talking to them, but also just riding against them and competing.
Is that unusual, Bossy, that camaraderie anywhere in the world? Or is there a sense of belonging? Because what you do is so dangerous that you're kind of looking after yourselves. You're trying to beat each other, but looking after each other?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a very common thing amongst the group that we have of riders that, you kind of, I think back in the day it might have been a bit more dog eat dog, but now it's pretty, we'll definitely, help each other out as best as we can just for the greater good of, the safety one thing, but just I think it's a cool thing to do, to be very honest.
It's a unique camaraderie, isn't it, really?
Oh, it's an amazing camaraderie we have. Individually we're competing to do our best for ourselves to try and beat everyone else, but collectively you won't get a tighter bunch of men and women that try and look after each other. It's incredible.
I think stewarding's come a long way, as well as, I think, we still ride tight, but it's competitive, but it's as safe as it can be. And, credit to the stewards, I think, across the country and the young kids coming through. I think riding's at a really good level now. I think it's
very good level.
In terms of safety, obviously we've got great riders, but in terms of safety and welfare of the horse, welfare of obviously jockeys as well, it's at a really good level.
The chat out there though as well, which is always something that I love talking about, Bossy. I'll bring it up because we don't hear it. Like we're watching a race, we only see runners, we hear race caller, we hear a bit of atmos. We don't hear you guys yapping at each other. Like you mentioned before about Darren Beeman in your first Melbourne Cup and turn around and trying to put him on the rail. Jim Cassidy was sitting in that seat a few weeks ago and he told the story of the Derby where he told you to F off because you asked him
I look back at that.
Yeah.
I drew inside of him and sat third the fence. I wasn't outside of him.
Oh, who was it then?
So he's put mayo on it.
But I will say this, he'd give it a great ride. I watched it. He drew out wide.
Yeah.
I drew one or two and I was on a horse, I think it was Sousa. And I can't remember. I might have said something to him. My memory's not great, but I might have said something to him or I was looking for a bit of room at the 600. But Pumper just, I thought his horse was 30 or 40 to 1.
Yeah.
Anyway, he gave it a great ride and he angled out into the clear and the rest is history. And I sort of ducked through on the inside.
Were you trying to push him out?
So I might have been trying to push him out, but I looked at the replay after I watched that. I thought, hang on, Pumper, I can't remember being outside of you. And,
maybe he was talking about him being outside. You were trying to get out or something.
Maybe I was trying to get out, but I had a laugh when I heard that.
There's another beep we've got to put in.
Another beep for Bossy.
Pumper and Mal's episodes is beep off, but you've been great so far, Kerrin. So thank you for that, for our producers and everything like that. But who would you say is, in terms of that, the hardest competitor out there in terms of he will not give you an inch, or previous years? And Bossy, you can chime in here as well.
There's been some greats. Obviously, you can rattle a heap of. Nash is obviously Naughty Nash is pretty hard.
Nash Ruler.
Yeah. He's a great rider, and he'd be one of the hardest now. Stephen King back in the day, I remember being a young kid riding against Kingy.
Darren Beeman was unbelievable.
Darren Beeman, yeah. Who else?
So it's just ruthless behaviour out there.
Well, no, just hard
good competitive racing.
Competitive racing, yeah. So if I had to pick one out of everyone, I reckon it'd be Kingy.
Okay.
Yeah, and I only rode against him early doors, but Kingy was a hard man to ride against. Yeah.
You got a name to chuck into the conversation here, Bossy?
Jimmy Cassidy was pretty solid, but the hardest I did week in, week out was Darren Beeman. Like, wouldn't matter if you're at
You
Canterbury.
rode against him a lot, didn't you?
A lot,
Yeah.
and he was ruthless.
Yeah.
To the point where I'd come back in the jockeys room and curse him and just under my breath, but at the same time admiring him so
Yeah, yeah.
much because he's like, you'd be at Hawkesbury in a maiden and he'd be just all over you, thinking, oh mate, come on, it's Hawkesbury. But that's just how he was built.
Yeah.
But I used to admire him so much for that, and I remember talking to him about it later on, and that's just how he was. But he was one of those guys, Kerrin, he knew exactly where the line was,
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
rode
yeah.
that line so well.
Yeah.
You know, he'd have you in a spot where you thought you could be in danger, but you never were.
Yeah.
He was incredible.
Freak rider, wasn't he?
Freak rider.
What about, is that him calling now? Just
Yeah,
to put his name in there?
You wouldn't believe it.
Hey, what about England in that respect, though? So you spoke of those great, like Hall of Fame riders, all of them, the ones you mentioned that you were riding against as a young fella when you had your time in England. Were they as ruthless?
Yeah, Mick Cannan was pretty hard to ride against. Yep.
Yeah.
My favourite job.
Yeah, he was a gentleman and just a real tough rider, and a great rider. So you know, you could name a few of them. Fallon, obviously, as well. He was great. They were freak riders. They were horsemen as well, but they were great jockeys.
Kieran Fallon was incredible.
Yeah.
I rode against him in Hong Kong for a season, and he was a wild bastard back in the day, wasn't he? He used to love a drink and that, and I used to have to go into. Lived on the same level as him, so I'd have to go and try and wake him up in the morning to ride work.
Right.
You know, because he loved to drink. You know, so he'd ride work. You know, a couple of drinks under his belt.
Yeah.
Do no form, do nothing, then just go out there and ride 3 or 4 winners on a weekend.
Unreal, yeah.
He was an incredible athlete, to be very honest.
Yeah.
He was a good rider.
He's now riding work for Godolphin, actually.
His son's riding well, eh?
Yeah, his son's riding. Yep.
Yeah.
There was some great riders over there as well, and their rules were a little bit different to ours in regards to how tight they race and stuff. But it was still very competitive over there in regards to the way they ran their races. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, like, Kerrin? I remember when you come back, like, you done how many years over in?
I did like five flat seasons in England.
So you really kind of got into their genre and the way they rode.
Yep.
You know, how much did it take that impact when you come back to Sydney and you were the number 1 rider for Godolphin here?
Yeah.
That first 3 months was, as we looked from the outside in, was bloody tough for you because you were copping it from everywhere. The stewards, the punters, the press, everyone was giving it to you. Internally, the jockeys knew that Kerrin was going to be okay because we knew how great a rider he was. But the noise around him at that time, because the expectations that you'd just come back here and kill it.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, because that must have been really tough.
It was a tough initiation. The first probably 6 months was quite tough. Probably the hardest time in my career, I'd say, because come back from, as you said, riding over there, different style, and not only come back to Australia, I'd come back to Sydney. Whereas previously, I'd only ridden, I'd ridden in Melbourne and Adelaide. I hadn't ridden that, predominantly in those states. So it was a whole new setup in Sydney. So, big job, lots of pressure. And I was struggling to adjust back into the Australian style of riding, and that meant getting a good position, beginning sharp from the gates, getting a good position, and stuff like that. So obviously, being a competitor, I was trying too hard. I was trying to adjust, but I was causing interference. I remember bowling Bossy one day, Danny Nikolic one day, Pumper one day at Canterbury. And I was getting suspended. So you'd get a bit of momentum going, and then all of a sudden you're out again. So. The first 6 months was really hard, you'd be going home, really disappointed in yourself, not being able to get the job done. So it was good to be able to get through that period, and I think I might have won.
Seapoy came out.
Seapoy came out before that. My first group one, I reckon, was it might have been on Denman.
Yeah, Denman. It was Denman.
The Golden Rose, or it might have even been Forensics in the Maya Classic, one of those. But I remember after that, I thought, right. Now we're away, and Peter Snowden obviously had just taken on the job as well. He was a hard taskmaster, and he wanted results as well. So it was a tough initiation. I look back on that now and think, geez, I'm glad I really stuck it out and was able to go through that rough patch.
So it's not like you're in the jockeys room then, Bossy. It's not a case of Kerrin, he could be on shaky ground here with a plum roll. it might open up for me. It was very much getting around him and
Yeah, no, we could all see that he was struggling with it, and it was all bullshit, because there's a lot of press involved. Even the stewards were getting a bit involved there, weren't they? And saying
They were a bit. The
They
press
come out
was
and said
hard,
a couple of things they probably shouldn't have said at the time, and all the boys, we all knew he'd be okay.
Yeah.
This is gonna take time, and we were all kind of feeling for Macca at the time because it was a big job. But we're all glad to see him come out the other side,
like that. You've just popped an idea in my head about the stewards thing. So it's like principal's office, because if you stuff up in a game of footy on the weekend, you've got a couple of days to get your case together and go and say, oh, look, these were the mitigating circumstances, please let me off, or maybe halve my suspension or whatever. You guys have to go in there 10 minutes before your next ride, plead your case, say, no, I didn't do it. Sometimes they'll come back, they'll say, oh, come back later in the day and explain yourself in greater detail so we can work out what to do with you. But does it ever get like you're trying to put your point across to the stewards and they're just not listening, so you get even more flustered and frustrated and it stuffs your day up? Like, how's that?
It can, yeah. There's been times where if you're in trouble, and I often say this to young apprentices now, if they've got a big day, and just ask the stewards if you can do it later on in the day or at the end of the day, because if you're going to get time, the last thing you want to do is worry about it when you've got a $2 favourite in the next race. You just want to sort of park that and then come back to it once the day's finished. So it can fluster you for sure. If you know you're going to get 2 or 3 weeks, during a carnival, there's nothing worse.
Yeah. And how everyone says you look at things clearer in the light of day, like the next day. Like you do look at things different.
Probably right,
like,
yeah.
we're under pressure. Our wheels are spinning because, like you say, you're thinking about potentially losing good rides in good races coming up. You're thinking about the 9-day rules. When do I take the suspension? So there's a lot going on, and you're hot as well. You're fired up. It's race day, right? So you can tend to say the wrong thing or look at things the wrong way on race day. Like you say, especially with young kids these days, they're really under pressure. I wish there was some way of rectifying it and making that system better, but it's very difficult, isn't it? Because our racing's every day. So
yeah. I mean, I suppose if it got to the point where you could adjourn it and do it the next day, I'm sure it's achievable now, given we have Zoom and everything in these days. But I definitely think if you're a young kid out there and you've got a big day of racing, you're better off asking to do it at the end of the day. What
tactics did you guys use with the stewards? Were you like Johnny Cochran, just going hammer and tong at them, back at them to say, nah, this is the truth. What you're saying is not the truth. Or was it, oh, yes, mister. Yes, sir. No, sir. 3 bags full, sir. Like giving them the cuddle. Which way would you go?
All sorts of tactics used. I was just go out there as much bullshit as I possibly could, and hopefully they'll just get sick of me and I'll wear them down. Oh, get out, it's fine. But that never worked. You try the real nice approach, and that never worked.
I go in with a nice, even approach, I reckon. And stewards nowadays have got that many different angles. You can't
get away with
talk
it.
And
bullshit.
we know too.
There's no point talking bullshit. You just
we know.
say it as it is. Yeah,
we know straight away.
Yeah,
You're like, I'm gone here, but try. But then it's about softening the blow.
Yeah, that's right.
Like especially if you go, okay, I'm done it. Can you just please soften the blow a bit for us?
Exactly. We've got a good system, obviously. You've got the penalties can be in mid-range, low range, whatever. And if you've got a good record, you can get a low range and you can be back within a week, and sometimes not even miss a Saturday. So I think we've got a good system there.
We've got the best stewards in the world, though.
I think so.
Australia has no doubt got the best stewards in the world.
I think so.
You're not riding anymore, Bossy. You don't need to say that, but
it's
nice of you to say.
We always have.
Yeah.
They're all around the world now.
Yeah,
absolutely. Back to Melbourne Cups, mate. Yeah. So cross counter 2018. We're talking of the Godolphin days and when you were riding for the stable permanently. So 2018. This is after 20, 30 years of misses for the biggest racing operation in the world.
Yeah,
the Blue Jackets, and you finally lobbed on one and got it home. What was that like? Or was it because they're so big, it's like, oh, yes, we've achieved that. Thank you very much. Next.
It was a great achievement because my initial thoughts, when I started working for Godolphin was, right, I want to win the Melbourne Cup for them. And as you said, it took a few years. I'm not sure how many rides I had for them in the Cup, but it would have been at least 7 or 8 or 9 rides for them over the years.
Frankie had a few more.
Beekeeper was my first one, and he ran third to Media Puzzle. So to fast forward 2018 and get on the back of Cross Counter. Obviously, he was a 3-year-old. Had really good form coming into it. Had the lightweight on his back. I think he had 52 or something kilos on his back, and it was under Charlie Appleby, who was a great mate of mine over there, and got to know him well. And he was going through the ranks as a foreman when I was over there, and he'd be always off racing, travelling horses to all parts of England when I was over there. So it was a really good feeling to be able to get the job done, not only for Sheikh Mohammed but also for Charlie. And it was a pretty special feeling to carry the colours across the line.
Yeah.
In that year's Melbourne Cup.
This was a hex, wasn't it, Bossy?
Well,
They just
but
couldn't get
that's
it done.
For Sheikh Mohammed, that's an itch that he really needed to scratch. Like he's very passionate, and he doesn't miss it. Doesn't miss much. So it was a big part of his life to win the Melbourne Cup because he'd been there and he couldn't do it. And all the money in the world can't buy you some experiences, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And he got to experience winning the Melbourne Cup. And like last year, you don't have to have a lot of money to win it. So for him, it was very special.
Yeah.
You've ended up with a statue as well in your hometown, which is pretty. And I've got to say,
Looks good.
I've seen some pretty ordinary statues. Namely, Cristiano Ronaldo had one done, and it was like the sculptor, unfortunately, has done that with a blindfold on. But your one, you've got to be happy with that.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Quite a surreal moment to get a statue put up. But it was done by a fellow called Ken Martin. He's from Port Lincoln, and Bossy would know Ken. He done the Makybe Diva one, and that's a great one in Port Lincoln as well. So Ken's a master of his trade. He's done a few at the Adelaide Oval, outside the Adelaide Oval as well. Barry Robin, I think, is one of them. It was great for the town. The council got behind it, and we raised some money to get it put up, and pretty special moment. Like I said, it's a surreal moment having a statue put up yourself, but the town of Streaky Bay and the region, they love their racing, love their sport, and it's a special thing to look back on.
How many people in Streaky Bay?
It's about 1,500 in the town, and there'd be probably double that in the area. Little farming and fishing town. Over there on the west coast of SA, and it's going to be always home for me. Great place to grow up as a kid.
It's like you're from a small town as well, aren't you, Bossy? Caboolture?
Well, it's not a small town now, but it was.
Back in the day.
Yeah, now it's quite a big city, but or big town. But I don't think they'll be putting a statue up for me.
Why not?
Have you seen my snog?
That's all right.
How much bronze is in that?
Mate, you got 3 of these. You get statues when you get 3 of these.
No, they've got Keith Urban's from there. Like, he takes all the limelight and that. So
but name me a Keith Urban song. I can name you 3 Melbourne Cup winners that you rode.
Jeez, I don't want to.
Maybe we're a little biased
myself now. I don't know Keith Urban songs.
No, that's more on me, actually. With all due respect to Keith, a lot of people love his music, but I'm not just one of them. I'd rather watch Melbourne Cups. Things like that. So,
true.
What's life like outside racing for you?
Pretty busy. We've got 4 kids, me and Kathy. So we're busy with those. But no, we're in a really good spot. We live in Randwick, and I'm still enjoying riding, and the kids. We've got 3 boys in high school, and so they keep us busy. Little Eva's in junior school there in Clovelly. They do a bit of pony riding and show jumping as well. So life's great. Just busy, riding, and get a day off. You'll be chilling out with either the kids or the family, or having a day off and resting. But I'm 45 this year, so like I said, I'm still enjoying my riding, but really focusing on trying to stay fit, trying to stay healthy, and keeping up on top of the body. I've had a few injuries along the way, so keep trying to feel good to then ride well. So that's the aim of the game.
No
for
one
me
does
at the
it
moment,
better.
So
He's like we all call him the professional because his routine is like, I don't think anyone's got the routine like him. He's stretching, his fitness, your diet. Like you look great, 45, but that's just down to all the preparation that he does all the time. It's incredible.
I get a lot of inspiration off of you see those big American stars where they just put time into their preparation, whether it's pre-racing or after.
Yep.
Pre-game, after game. I think if you can learn to recover well, it's going to help you.
Absolutely.
Trying to compete at with these young guys, you have to stay on top of it at a high level. So that's what I try and do. Like I've got a great process where after the trials or track worker trials, I'll go straight to the ice baths, jump in there. You know, I've got acupuncture, I've got physio, I've got cupping, cryotherapy, train in the gym. So I'm a bit of a perfectionist, if you like, to try and just get as well as I can for my job. You know, and hopefully that helps me continue on for another year or so.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about, though, Kerrin, like what life will be like for you after racing? Have you thought? I mean, it's a long way off. I know that, but have you ever given any thought?
I have. I actually don't know, what I'll end up doing, but I'd like to stay in the industry to some capacity. Now, whether that's working for a stable or whether that's working with apprentices.
Yep.
You know, I do like helping out young apprentices coming through.
One of them might be one of yours.
Sorry?
One of them might be one of yours.
Well, maybe, yeah.
Oh, you've bred maybe a couple of potential riders
there's potentially some good
the kids
jockeys there.
show a little bit of talent, and they love the game. So we'll wait and see. There's the two boys. Kathy does a great job with them with ponies and their show jumping. They get lessons off of James Mooney, who's well regarded in the show jumping ranks, and they really enjoy that. Plus, they enjoy watching, their dad ride as well as the racing in general.
They're bred to be champions. The Payne family and the McEvoys. Put them
It's a
together.
good cross.
We got champion riders. Like that's the best cross of all time.
I don't know how I'll go watching them ride. I don't know how Kathy will go. I don't know how parents do it in general, watching their kids ride, because it's bloody as great as the game is, it's dangerous. But we won't push them into it. But if they want to pursue a jockey career, then so be it.
So you reckon you'll still be riding at 50? The way you're going?
I don't know.
I think so.
I think if my body allows it, I still love competing and riding, and you don't want the form to drop off too much. So at the moment, I've got a good process. I'm enjoying it, and as long as I'm able to compete at a high level, then I'll continue on. So yeah, we'll wait and see.
Pretty cool achievement if you're able to ride your age as you wait as
Yeah,
well.
well, he probably could.
Ride
I'm
50
riding
at 50.
52 and a half this weekend.
Stratty.
In the Stratty. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Well, beautiful segue.
What a segue that
Yeah.
was.
What a segue. Here's Bossy's best. Let's get into it this weekend up in Brizzy. So massive day in Brisbane. Probably their marquee race, isn't it, guys, over the winter? The Stradbroke Handicap over 1,400 metres at Eagle Farm as a race, as an event to ride in. It's right up there.
It's their best race in Queensland, so it's always one we want to win. I was lucky enough to win one.
Yep.
You have won?
Yep, got one, trekking.
Oh,
Yep.
Trek, of course, yeah. Well, what a great horse.
What was your one,
Yeah, he was
Bossy?
a beauty.
Private Steer.
Private Steer, of course. Rode a
Yeah,
Donny
so-
on her as well.
Yeah, she won a Donny, but she was a very good
She was
filly.
good,
But
yeah.
looking at this race, I like the instructor to win.
The
Gai
instructor?
Waterhouse. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Just he's got in good form, and I looked at his trial the other day. They give him a trial. Geez, he trialled up good. He's a pretty solid horse. War Machine for second.
The Fave?
Yep. In good form, another one. But he's got form around the instructor, and the instructor's got form around him. So if you
Okay.
can tie those two in together. And I tell you what, I keep coming back to this horse, Private Eye.
The Toppy.
Well, if you go through his form, he's got the best form of arguably of any horse in this race. He's
Okay.
competed against the best. Bella Nipotina, blah, blah, blah. He's got amazing stats first up. I know he missed the run the other day, but he's such a great trainer, this bloke. Joe Pride, sorry. He's such a great trainer. He's meticulous about preparation with his horse, and I reckon he's targeted because we didn't have too many more left in him, would he, this horse?
He's getting on a bit, but he's still running at a high level.
But he's still running at a high level. So I've just got him first up. I think he's going to run a bottler.
So even though you're sitting next to a guy who's riding in the race, you've avoided Kerrin McEvoy's
Hasn't
mount.
tipped me.
I haven't tipped him, but
Robusto.
It's an interesting race because I've drawn out and there's
Yeah.
a bit of the speed's drawn out.
yes.
I haven't had a good look at it yet and crunched it down, but my horse is an interesting one. I actually rode him when he was owned by the Inghams, and Baker's had him for a couple of preps now. And it's interesting that he's aimed him at this race first up. So I'm almost like a bit of a fresh horse on the scene type thing. He's trialled well. Josh Parr trialled him, and I rang Josh about him. He said the horse is going well. I galloped him Wednesday week ago, and Björn said we're at Warwick Farm, and he said he needs a good solid gallop. He doesn't want a soft gallop. You got to give him a freaking hard one. So I looked at him and he looked round. So I thought, okay, he needs a bit of work. So went out and did a solid 7 furlong piece of work, and he worked well. He's just on his own. And then Josh Parr spoke to him yesterday. He worked him on Tuesday, and he said he's improved again. So
Okay.
look, he's got to go to a new level. This is the toughest race he's ran in, but who's to say he can't just turn up and run well with 52.5 on his back?
Just be Bjorn Baker.
Yeah, exactly.
Flying.
Well, he's actually got the horse to a new level since he's had him. I
Oh,
reckon,
good.
Bjorn.
Well,
So we'll wait and see.
Yeah, Bjorn could train a broomstick to win a race at the moment, apart from my mate's horse at Randwick through the week,
Yeah.
which you talked about before you got here, Kerrin. tongue tie, needed tongue tie,
Right.
like me sometimes. But the instructor for Bossy in
Yep.
the Stradbroke, so we'll look forward to that big race at Eagle Farm on Saturday. JJ Atkins, guys, it's the other Group 1. You got another ride in this one. What's the name of the horse again?
Yeah,
Zebra
Finch. So
Yeah.
he's actually he's a little horse. Well, he's a well-made horse, but he's a horse that I rode in a race at Warwick Farm in a maiden. Anyway, he drew wide, had to go back. Didn't really have a good run in the race to win. He came out, but he gave me a bit of a feel. And I thought this horse has got something. Went and rode him in the race at Hawkesbury. You know, the 1400 metre race they all aim at, or the 1300 metre race. Anyway, he got bundled up amongst them, but still ran a good race to run third. And I thought, all right, he's improving this horse. Anyway, he went to a Saturday race a few Saturdays ago at Rose Hill, and we put blinkers on him because I said to James, have a think about putting blinkers on, which he said, okay, good idea. Anyway, blinkers just switched him on. He sat outside the leader, controlled the race, but he gave me a nice feel kicking away. He actually beat Hidden Achievement,
Yep.
you know, on his own terms, on his on his own merits that day. Interestingly, Hidden Achievement's $7 and my horse is $15, so work that out. Anyway, this horse is drawn barrier 1 and he's improving, so he's a horse that could show up at a mile.
So, Bossy, it's the JJ Atkins Group 1 over 1,600 metres for the 2-year-old. So it's a late season 2-year-old race. How do you see it?
I'm just looking at the ones that have already put their hand up. It's sort of, some of them just pick themselves when they get this time of the year and this distance. But Hidden Achievement I've got winning. Grafted Burners I thought will run super. I've got Hidden Achievement just because he's getting back on top of the ground. And Providence for third. So they're my three. They're the...
That's the Group 1.
You know,
We should see how cool Archie does coming off the heavy track.
well, that's why I haven't got him in my top three. He's just 3 for 3 on the real heavy. I just think he might get...
It's a good race at Jay Atkins, isn't it?
It's a great race to win.
Just on Zebra
never
Finch,
won.
it's not actually a zebra, is it? Have you ever ridden a zebra?
He's not by a zebra.
No,
I would hope not.
no.
I mean, they've had
I've
issues up
never
in
ridden a
Queensland
zebra.
before with painting horses, but we won't go into
No,
that
we
right now.
won't go into
Yeah. Zebra. Like, never ridden a zebra? Can you ride a zebra?
But there must be a bird called a zebra finch.
There must be, yeah.
You know, they fit little things.
Yeah,
There
must
must
be.
be little, when he was born,
Well,
he
they're
might have been-
always well named, the Godolphin horses,
yeah,
the Darley
always,
horses.
there's
so
this connection.
there's a connection.
Yeah, had to be.
Yeah.
I'm Googling it right
Google it
now.
right now.
They're Bossy. David Attenborough over there, yes. A zebra finch are two species of...
What colour
Can't
is
even
it?
say that.
Black and white?
Like, looks like a parrot.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
pretty cool.
There you go. Hope you're not riding that on the weekend, Kerrin.
No.
Could be hard to put a saddle on. Anyway, good luck in that race, mate. Before we go, we've got to mention our friends at Bossy, of course, at IP Events, IPE.
Yep.
IPEvents.com.au. IPE Events is the name of the company, and they do some great experiences at some big sporting events around Australia, don't they?
The biggest ones, to be honest. F1,
Okay.
Rugby Union. We had a real good one up at the Doom in 10,000 years. That was a lot of fun. They do the Golden Slipper and they do the 4 days over the Spring Carnival. What a great venue they've got there.
Yeah.
So if you haven't been, you've got to get on their website, IPE, and see if you can get some tickets because they sell out
So they
pretty
do
quick.
a package, though?
They do a package. It's smick. The food's great. The entertainment, I get there and do a bit of.
Yeah, right.
So the entertainment's outstanding.
Do you tip any winners?
Actually, yes, I've had a bit of
Okay.
fun with it. Actually,
Very
yeah.
good. That's what you want to be doing.
Brilliant. Yeah. So they've got Origin 3 as well, I think, in Sydney.
And 2 in Perth.
And 2 in Perth.
Yeah, they're in
as
Perth.
well.
Two in Perth, is it?
Yes,
Oh, wow,
number 2's in
okay.
Perth.
Have they had they've had a league game? Sorry, a union a state of origin game, haven't they? Perth before?
Couple of times.
Yes, couple of times, yes.
Yeah. New South Wales have blitzed Queensland a couple of times there.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's hoping. We started the thing by getting into him about Queensland dropping their captain.
Mad
Kerrin.
Queensland man, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Do you care about Origin? Being from
You know
South
what? As a
Australia?
kid, I actually used to sit up and watch the Origin. I didn't used to because obviously AFL. I'm an
Yeah.
AFL madman. Love my Swans and AFL in general. But I used to cheer for the Maroons. So there you go.
There you go. Good boy. I knew there was something about you. I
everyone-
like
Mal
that.
Meninga and
Yes.
Alfie Langer and all
Yes.
those guys.
Everyone not from New South Wales tends to cheer for Queensland. It annoys
True.
me.
That's true.
It is, exactly. Kerrin, thanks so much again.
What about that?
This is going up on a wall.
That's a beauty.
The home office. It's outstanding. The Almanded floorboards. Get around it,
Well
everyone.
spotted.
Have a win, buy some floorboards. That's what you should do when you win a Melbourne Cup. Anyway, mate, thanks so much for dropping by. Good luck with the hunt for a 4th Melbourne Cup.
Yeah, you get the 4th.
Cheers.
And
Thank
one
you.
day you can come back with all 4 of them. We can have a cup off in the studio here. Who's the boss? Cheers, mate.
Thank you.
Good on you,
Thanks for having
Macca.
me. Thanks, boys.
Cheers, mate. You're
Appreciate
a star.
it.
That was Who's the Boss? Kerrin McEvoy. More great guests on the way. If you like our content, hit the like button somewhere down here.
And if you want to subscribe, right here.